Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Penny Bloom Podcast. It is I, Colton Robertson, and today I am joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
What up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. Today, we continue our 52-year journey through film with 2003's Kill Bill, Volume 1. And coming off last week, it was going to be a tough viewing for any movie. You know, any movie was going to have a tough shake after Scooby-Doo in 2002. But this did a damn good job.
Yeah, it tried its best. It's 2003, coming off the strongest year in cinema after 2002. But man, Kill Bill was. I enjoyed this movie thoroughly. This was a very, very nice addition to the list because this was my first viewing of this movie in general.
It was my first viewing in 7 or 8 years, and I can say I enjoyed it 10 times as much as I did the last time I watched it. I was so in from like the get-go. Everything this movie is about and everything, like the action, choreography, everything is just so much more up my alley now than it was when I was 14. Just makes a lot of sense that I'm digging this movie so hard. But let's give the people the breakdown. Released on October 10th, 2003, and it is written by Quentin Tarantino and Uma Thurman, and directed by Quentin Tarantino. And man, what a fucking addition to this 52-year journey through film. I loved this movie. Like, comparing it back to 1994's Pulp Fiction, another Tarantino, easiest one to compare it to. I think like he just so obviously has a style, and it bleeds through here. But this is, for my money, so much better. The narrative is much more cohesive. I follow it a lot not easier. Like, I know what was happening in Pulp Fiction. It's just like, I didn't get why. I like the driving force behind a narrative being like revenge. I get that. That's easy. I'm not just watching people do shit.
Yeah. This, I mean, I'm definitely in the same boat. This is, I like this, not maybe far better than Pulp Fiction. But as in terms of enjoyment, like, man, I was in from the very start. We like open up on a just a fight. Like immediately
Black
jumping in.
White.
Well, I guess true. That's how it actually opens with.
And buddy, let me tell you, I like I said, I hadn't seen it in almost a decade, and when it opened on that black and white screen with Uma Thurman acting her ass off, by the way, that like she kicks off the movie with what is probably her most powerful scene, which is kind of crazy, but like her sitting there sobbing, it was oh my god, I was just like, fuck, this is hard to watch. And then she gets a bullet through her head, and I'm like, okay, so that's the end of the movie, right? Like we're doing the weird time bending thing that Quentin Tarantino likes to do, and he's giving us the end of the story before everything else. And then no, she lives through that. She lives through the bullet straight through her brain, which I thought was just like, fuck it, I love this.
The line right before the bullet, Bill, the kid is your, bam, like it's your kid, bam, instant, done. And I had no idea of like anything about this movie. The only thing I knew was the yellow biker outfit, and eventually it would get all bloodied That's like all that I knew going into this movie. I knew nothing. I knew nowhere. Like, I had no idea where the story was going, any of these characters, what they actually do or anything. And like hearing that she was, pregnant, like whenever she like was killed, I was like, oh my God, like, okay, what a way to open up a movie here. Like, like, damn. But then I was mistaken. The opening I was thinking of is the fight scene between
With
her
Vivica
and
Fox.
was it no Cottonmouth? That wasn't her. Copperhead, was that
yes,
her code name?
Vernita, I think is what her name was. But yeah, Copperhead, if I remember correctly.
And like their fight scene, and man, the fight scenes in this were like incredible. Like actual knife fights and sword fights that made sense. Like usually there's a lot of jumping around, breaking gravity, and like like that's just the style of the movie. And I'm not gonna.
I fucking love fantastical action sequences like that, man. It's fantastic.
But the actual like the realism of like knife fights, like usually when you see knife fights in movies, like I'm thinking of the one that comes to mind is like whenever Cap and Bucky are fighting, and he's twisting the knife and they're dodging, all super fast. But like real knife fights, like one slip up, you're dead. So it's really a very slow and not striking, and it's one strike can do it. Because like you're afraid that you're gonna die in that moment. It's one slice and you're done. And I love how like even though it's all like super fantastical and they're jumping all around doing all these things, like it's still very realistic, and the sword fighting and stuff, I guess does get a little crazy whenever she's fighting 88 people. But man, there's a time and place for all of it. Yeah,
of the bride.
Oh yeah. And man, yeah, I don't know. This, like, I did not expect to like this movie this much.
No, I've come to the mind that, through a few movies, I really enjoy Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I really enjoy this movie and Django Unchained. Like, I know Tarantino's good, but I question after watching some of his other stuff, like Pulp Fiction, like Reservoir Dogs. I'm not a huge fan of that. Do people hold him in a little too high esteem? And I don't think so. I think he hits more than he misses. And no matter what, stylistically, he does fantastic. He does absolutely incredible, kind of no matter what.
He obviously has a pretty big foot fetish, and he shows it in all of his movies. That's a constant. But
and wiggle your toe.
Yeah, like.
All right.
Man, and I love like in the like I don't know what award show it was, but Leonardo like brought it up on stage, and like called him out for it, and his shot like went to his face afterwards, and he just was kind of pissed off. But weird kind of guy, but man, he can.
Yeah, and like, hey, your kink's your kink, man. It's just weird to know you're behind the camera putting other people's feet on screen, because then it's like, oh, what do you...
I never think about that. Like the director is like holding the camera, looking like in, like I don't think about that whenever I'm watching a movie. I'm just thinking of what I'm seeing. But I will give credit where credit is due. Like I kind of thought that people overhyped Tarantino a little bit after Pulp Fiction. That watch, it was still a fantastic movie, but this, I understand the Tarantino hype now. Like this
one, I'm just so much more there for a narrative focus, and this, like, while the filmmaking is very prominent in this movie, and the lighting of shots and the way that everything's set up and the choreography of the action is all very, very important, the driving force behind this movie is the narrative. It is the story. And I think that they did a really fantastic job with this story. I think this was massively entertaining to watch. Like, along this 52-year journey through film, Emily's watched a lot of the movies with me, and a lot of the time she gets kind of bored and gets on her phone and is like, I'm all right. Not this one. She was in it. She liked this movie, man. And I usually take that as a sign that the movie was at least massively entertaining. And
I mean, I'm glad we have one of the strongest female lead roles that I've kind of ever watched in film. I'm thinking back to Aliens. That's kind of the only other one that comes
Ellen
up.
Ripley was pretty strong,
but man,
yeah, Uma Thurman as the bride, man.
Wow,
That's
Black Mamba. No idea this is where Black Mamba came from. Like the logo and the name, like for Kobe Bryant. Like I thought that he just made that up on his own. Like I thought that was his own thing.
It's
like,
it's almost funnier knowing that he got it from Kill Bill.
Yeah. And I literally like asked Google. I'm like, when did Kobe Bryant like start to call himself the Black Mamba? And it was like 2003 in the beginning of 2004. And I'm like, no way. Like, cause I was like, maybe he had this, and Kill Bill put it in there for whatever, just like as a Kobe. And I'm like, no.
I was like, I don't think Tarantino would do that. I think Kobe would take it from Tarantino though.
Yeah.
And it was fucking awesome. I was like, oh shit. Like, and then you see the sword and it's got the little fucking logo on it. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, this is everything. This is Kobe Bryant's entire fucking aesthetic. And I had no idea.
Man,
it's pretty fantastic that's where he got it. We had some pretty awesome sets throughout this movie. I loved the set design throughout this film. That last fight between Uma Thurman and Lucy Liu, the bride, and Oren Ishii in the snow-covered courtyard out there. Man, that's so fucking cool.
Water thing, like the little just everything. Like, man, I mean, yeah, I mean, for nominations for the Decade Awards, I placed it in set design and costume design already.
Always, I'm updating it on my Google Docs as I'm watching it. And, at different points, I'm putting different things down. It's cool because it doesn't happen all at once. It's like there's a moment in the movie where I'm like, yep, that earned it a nod here. And the set design got it, costume design got it. I gave best soundtrack a nod too for the RZA, a founding member of Wu-Tang Clan, did the music for this movie. I put Lucy Liu as Oren as best supporting actress because she absolutely kills that shit. And it was that scene where she chops the dude's head off and then is like, I'm gonna say this in English so y'all really get it.
Ooh.
And whenever she said that and she gave that monologue and was like, if any of you bring up, like, I'm open to discussion for a lot of things, but if y'all ever take away from my Chinese or American heritage, that's what happens. Just thought y'all should know.
I'll collect your head. Yeah.
Oh, that's one of the best scenes in the movie, man. And Lucy Liu got the nod for me for best supporting actress of the decade with that. Uma Thurman, obviously best actress, and Quentin Tarantino, best director. Like, I was like, that's pretty easy.
Yeah, this man. I mean, for best actress, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we have anything coming up in the aughts that can rival Uma Thurman's performance. Because, man, like I'm glad we're getting some female representation now. We're like, this was just like the most badass woman that I've just watched. Ellen Ripley is the closest thing, but I feel like Uma Thurman just took it to a different level here. Like, I mean, she's just like, and I like her performance of it as well, not just being badass, and like this strong, powerful woman, but like the actual like emotional parts of the movie. And I don't know. I think she just did this perfectly. Like
she grounded this movie in such with such a wonderful performance. And, she does a really good job of being she has such a narrow vision. It's like, I'm doing this and I'm here to fucking kill you. All right. So, do what you will to try and stop me, but you won't. And it's just so badass. And whenever she gets that slice to the back by Oren, and then she just goes ahead and gets up and cuts that artery on her leg. I'm like, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I love the honor amongst, like, within these fights. I love that there's no going for the back. You know, there is a little bit. It's like she has to turn around and fight off some people every once in a while, but it's like it's all pretty honorable. It's like I'm only gonna sword fight you if you're gonna sword fight me. I'm not just gonna stab you in the back.
Yeah, and she even like says like after she gets sliced in the back, she's like, "Fight me with everything you have." You know, she's like, "Don't hold back just because
if you do, you won't win."
And yeah, like the fight scenes in this movie were just, I mean, usually fight scenes are just kind of like I watch them and it's just I don't really care about them because it's not like pushing the story forward necessarily. It's just kind of action for action. But like,
and that's Tarantino to a T. Is the gory action for the sake of gory action.
Oh, talk about some blood spewing. I'm curious if like, because I've never, in person seen someone get stabbed with a samurai sword or sliced with a samurai sword. I wonder, like, I mean, it makes sense, I guess, maybe. I feel like it's dramatized a little bit here.
I think it is.
I mean, I loved it, though. Like, just, like, there was one, I think it was near the beginning of the fight scene whenever she's confronting Oren. She's like slices two dudes' arms off, and they both just like start like
it's
like they both.
It was her right hand woman or like Sophie Fatale, who she cuts the arm off of, and she's like and she's running around and it's spewing out of her fucking arm and I usually think that the severing of body parts probably goes a little bit more like it did in Game of Thrones. Like it was bloody as fucking Game of Thrones, but it wasn't like fountain of blood spewing from the man's head who's just got cut off at the table there. I don't know about all that. And the anime sequence.
Oh man, yeah, that was like a part of the movie that surprised me. I'm like, oh, this is just cool as fuck to watch this now. Like I didn't know this was in here at all, and like giving her like her origin story through this, you see like what she's been through, and it makes their fight scene even more worth it in the end. And like, what a cool movie! Like it was just super fun the entire time. It was super cool just to include anime within it. And man, yeah, I'm looking at the aftermath of the fight and just how much.
Oh, and I love that they cut to black and white during the fight, and then they were like, "We'll show you what the havoc really is at the end here."
Man, and whenever they went upstairs into that like blue, like kind of just room, like it was kind of, I don't know, like upstairs, like it was just the silhouettes. You saw like their silhouettes fighting, for a little bit. And it was like the shots were set up so cool. Like it was, oh my god.
When she murdered the rapists, that was my favorite. Like I was watching it with Emily, and like she was like, Tarantino is a sicko, and I was like, he absolutely is to have thought of this.
Did not have to include it in the movie at all. Like this was, I mean, like sure, it's how she gets her pussy wagon, how she gets her vehicle that we see. Her vehicle.
It's how she gets her vehicle. It's how she wakes up from her coma. Like so like it's just the scene he had going on while those things were happening, or like, wow, you're kind of disgusting for even thinking of this. The like the nurse selling her body and implying that he's been selling her body. This one's a spitter. It's a motor reflex thing. Like I was like, fucking A, this is that's just disgusting. And every time there's something like this that happens in one of Tarantino's movies, the people who do the deed get murdered brutally. And I think he might do stuff like that the absolute extreme so that you're okay with our protagonist bloody fucking murdering them.
I guess that's true. Because if they were just like normal, like everyday nurses that were just taking care of them, like I would assume that, she's waking up thinking that she's going to die, like she's thinking Bill's, coming for her and everything. She's probably going to kill whoever's around no matter what. But, I guess if she's going to kill two people in this case, I'm definitely fine with these two people that she killed.
Yeah, these dudes were the scum of the earth, and I was very satisfied with the fact that she murdered them by tearing off one of their, like, the bottom half of their chin, and that was pretty fucking brutal, and slamming a dude's head in a door. That was Kingpin-esque.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's I mean, she didn't have legs, she was very resourceful with what she could do. I mean, that's just her character. She doesn't give up. She wills it to be.
If you go back to that last picture before, do you recognize that guy? Johnny Moe? That is Gordon Liu, our lead in 36th Chamber of Shaolin. That's Sante, baby.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Johnny Moe.
That is sick. Wow.
Right there.
Okay. That's awesome. I wondered why, like,
he was wearing a mask the whole time.
Yeah, I wonder why they had like a lead guy out of everyone they were fighting, and everyone was just like a goon or whatever. And I wondered why they gave him like the I don't know. Oh, he's in this. Oh, because he's in. This is like him, and I guess he's in the second one too. As okay, that's wow. I didn't know that was him. That's really awesome.
That is awesome.
That he's popping back up here. And they a mention of Shaolin in the movie. Was it in the? I'm pretty sure in the first. Yeah. I don't know. Watch, and it really does just roll. Like the movies like roll like perfectly. Yeah, pretty perfectly together. But I don't know. That's awesome. I love that's cool. They have a reference in there and him in there, Sante.
I was hoping he'd whip out the triple nunchuck.
That would have been sick.
It'd have been awesome. But no, it was still a really cool scene with him. He's an awesome martial artist, dude. His like when he was doing those spins up on the balcony, like that's him doing his stunts. Like that's some talented footwork for that man.
That is awesome. Wow, man, what a cool. I don't know, just such a everything surrounding this movie is just kind of cool. Like the fact that Kobe Bryant took inspiration from this movie to hit, center his whole brand around, even.
I mean, even the color scheme.
Oh, yellow,
the black and yellow. He loved the black and yellow, man. That was what he went with on most of his designs.
I like the handwritten, list that she has, and how every chapter or something, like it shows like the number, like with the circle.
Oh, dude, chapter 1 was 2.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. Well, and what's also interesting is they showed us that first. But when they showed us that name crossed off, O-Ren Ishii's name was already crossed off, I'm pretty sure. The first name on the list was already crossed off.
Yeah, she was the first to go.
So it's really interesting that we get what happened immediately after that at the very beginning of the movie.
So, it's crazy to think, that she's coming out of a 4-year coma, just got her legs to work. I guess she had a month to rest and train, while the sword was being made.
With the Torianzo.
But yeah, like Oren was the first to go. And once that clicked, like in my mind, like, oh yeah, like, wait a minute, her name was already crossed off, and whenever she's explaining it for the first time, like, or narrating a little bit, like, yeah, I'm like, oh, she's already been dead, like, this whole time. Like, she wasn't the second to die.
She was the first.
Yeah. And just, I guess maybe Tarantino really likes just to jump around with time and stuff. He doesn't like to show things in order. But in this case,
and you know what? In this movie, it
Mm.
was much more effective for me. It was because there's a narrative. You know, I'm not bouncing back to something random that would make narrative sense after something else, but now that it's here, it doesn't make a ton of narrative sense. Like, this flows very, very well. And, you know, Pulp Fiction flowed very, very well. I don't know that if it was narratively told one thing after the other, it would have been satisfying. But you had to have the story elements there for me to really dig Pulp Fiction as much as I dig this movie. And they're just not quite there. I think the acting in Pulp Fiction, I'd probably give that a little bit of an edge to this movie. But I do think Kill Bill was going for a little bit more of a fantastical thing than the casual one-on-one conversation Pulp Fiction provided.
More real, more of like reality, you know, very, very centered around reality. But here it's, you know, we have
it's pretty fantastical.
And that, I don't know what that weapon is that go-go. That eventually turned into, it was like I don't know what to call it, but that was cool.
Hey, and you know, I noticed this when I was watching Scooby-Doo. Fred uses like the same weapon during that movie. It's insane. Go-Go's a lot more talented with it than Fred, but
amazing how everything, you know,
everything connects. I love it when it all comes together.
But I thinking, you know, I guess let's give Copperhead, you know, that fight scene, you know, like
that was so hard.
And Uma Thurman being like, you know, it wasn't my intention to do this in front of you, you know, but now that it has happened, you know, if you want to grow up and you're still uneasy about this, you know, or whatever, like,
I'll be waiting.
Yeah, like
hey, I'm not gonna kill you here, and I know that means you'll probably grow up and try to take your revenge. I invite that. I won't deal with you now. Deuces.
Kid, I mean, she took it pretty well. You know, no screaming, no. I mean, like, I don't know. I expected, you know, her to start crying. You know, seeing her mother just
something. You know, and I gotta hope that comes back around in some capacity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is. I mean, Kill Bill Volume 3 announced. I don't know how. I
feel like I heard something about it,
but that's pretty cool. Just to see that, like that there could be a Volume 3 coming. I hope it's not just for the money grab, you know. I hope it's like a good continuation of the story.
I think Tarantino probably wouldn't do it if it and if it's not by Tarantino, I think then we'll know it was a money grab.
True.
Banking on nostalgia. And not to say that Quentin Tarantino is above going for a money grab. I have no doubts that he is not. He's a pretty scummy individual, but I think he likes to keep it relatively about the filmmaking when he's doing the filmmaking thing.
Man, yeah, oh, that's cool. I was wondering, like, I would just assume that there was a lot of martial arts inspiration here, and I was wondering about that yellow suit, like, because how iconic it was. I'm like, this has to come from somewhere, and it makes sense. It comes from Bruce Lee. You know what? Like, I mean, like, thinking of martial arts titans, like, I mean, like, the guy that you go to is Bruce Lee.
Yeah, you got it.
And in Game of Death, he's wearing basically like a pretty, very, very similar yellow suit, which is really cool. But I don't know. I'd say maybe Uma Thurman pulled it off a little better here.
She looked pretty good. She looked pretty good in that suit,
even when it was all bloodied up and cut at the end. I've seen that. Like, I've seen Halloween costumes. I've seen that specific Halloween costume almost every year.
It's a staple. It certainly is.
And
I mean, the bride. I love that they bleeped out her name every time. Every time someone actually said it, they were like, "Boop." I was like, okay, I like that. That's interesting.
Yeah, so many like quirks to this movie. It's like there's no real other movie that's like this. I don't know. Like, it's very, I don't know. It's very its own. Like, I don't know. Like, it's funny but very serious at the same time. And it's like, I don't know.
It's like almost making fun of itself at points. Like it's like it like knows what it's doing. It knows it can be goofy, and it's like leaning into it full well.
Man.
But I it was so fun. Like the parts where, like, it couldn't have been like a serious choice for Uma Thurman to be looking up at Lucy Liu, and they play that like, that can't be like a genuine serious choice. Like, there was no way he was like, this will be cool. Like, no, like he knew that was kind of goofy and quirky. Like that was like, and it happens like twice really quickly in succession. So it's like, you knew he was just kind of like doing something creatively, a very specific choice.
I was wondering if like this was the first, because like I've heard that, that song and like so much all over.
Came
Is this
before
like
it.
Okay, that's what I figured. I didn't know if this,
because I was watching it with subtitles and it actually listed this song is playing. So like it's not original.
I didn't mean like
Kill
that
Bill.
the song like original to it, but like if it was in this context.
Utilized with that effect. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. That's an interesting.
There are a lot of things kind of like that I'm like, oh wow, is this maybe where this got big? First of all, like
like as they're walking in, I was like, oh shit, is that where this is from? Is that by the RZA? And is it from Kill Bill, them walking to a fight, like going against each other? Like I was like, that's kind of dope if it is.
Man, yeah, there are just so many like wallpaper shots. Like, I mean, like you could freeze frame like this movie in so many different places, and it's like just wow. Like I don't know, the camera work, the direction. Like I got to give it to Quentin Tarantino on this one. He really like he was in his bag with this.
He was in his bag for this one, and I thought Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was my favorite Tarantino flick, and I gotta say that's no longer the case. I think it's definitely Kill Bill. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood will hold a special place in my heart for being the only Tarantino film I've seen in theaters, which is pretty cool. But Kill Bill Volume 1 is just better. It's just better. This movie is so much fun to watch. And that, like, the beginning, our feature presentation that was on, like, a really weird screen, and it was just like it was presented to us in a really old-timey way, like in a way that is before 2003, which is really cool.
And I love the different, like, sometimes it breaks, the shot up into two different shots, half and half, shows like one person in the, like during a fight scene, and then it merges back together, or like transparent, showing through the bathroom stall. Like there were just cool little like quirks about this movie that
really
were just
cool choices. And like in some cases it's like, interesting. Like there's that moment where the bride is shown Hattori Hanzo's swords. And I really liked that scene. And it's like this powerful musical swell. And it's like, oh, this is really cool. And then it goes on for like a couple minutes. And eventually they like fade half the screen to show Hattori Hanzo, like watching her look at the swords. And it was like a really like interesting moment to show how connected to these swords the bride was. And how she admired them so much, which is also really cool. Like it's like
I just love how they played up the legend of Hanzo's swords. Like these swords are the best in the world. Like they are like, and the fact that he's taken this oath to not make, another weapon of death, a tool of death, but in this one case.
Dude, whenever she told him like it was a specific protege of yours, and he like walks over to the window and just spells Bill, I was like, this dude's dramatic as hell.
You can sleep here. It'll take me a month to make your sword. I suggest you train. And like immediately, like that's all it took. She's like,
he runs over to the little hole and he like jumps down. He like doesn't even crawl down the ladder. He like I was like, dude, this man's awesome. I loved Hattori Hanzo. And there was also the whole like presentation of the weapon, which I thought was really cool. When he was like, I did the one thing I swore to God I never would do, the oath I took, and I've made a weapon of death. And, he's like, but I am sympathetic with your mission, so I hope you see it through. This was worth it. I thought that was
the best one that he's ever created too. Like used to create them just for the aesthetic, just to hang them up on the wall. But this one,
I feel like this was a little bit of a Tarantino like blowing himself a little bit during this part, being like, I do it for the aesthetic and sentimental value. I don't give a fuck about what you think, or how you want to use it. I do it for the aesthetic and sentimental value, and I really, really loved that part and that perspective on the swords. Like that's a really cool little deal there. And I loved that at the end, whenever O-Ren is fighting the bride, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that's really cool. Who made it for you?" And she's like, "Hattori Hanzo," and she's like, "You lie." Like, nope, there's no fucking chance that happened.
There's one thing that makes her believe it, and it's whenever her head gets sliced off, or partially sliced off.
It was a Hattori Hanzo.
It's like, it really was. Damn. And those were her last words. Those were her last thoughts. Was just
the way the fucking top of her brain was sticking out a little bit, like, holy shit.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, man, what a fight. Like, what a way to... I mean, it's not the end of the movie, but, like, pretty much, like, not much comes after. This is what I feel like the kind of the resolve, is this death.
Oh, definitely. Like, that was the mission for this movie to a point,
And I guess the first death, though, it's the first one. There's another person that dies after this, technically. But this is... I guess like her journey, to starting this is where it all kicks off. And
it's like this is the launching off point. It feels like this is.
Yeah, we get her origin, with the anime, which was super cool to see how she came up
too.
Yeah, and oh man, like whenever her mom gets stabbed, like through the bed, the sword
all the way through the bed,
her head, and then it just
the
starts
blood starts dripping down. God,
man,
that was some powerful animation too, man. Like I was like, fuck, this is sad. Like and also the most gory part of the movie, I think. So like it was like purposefully
shooting the guy's legs off, making him fall, and then getting him in the head, man, like I mean, the thing is that like although it was animated, like did not take away from the movie. Like it was just like,
no, not at all. In fact, it's a plus. Like I was like, that is such an interesting, awesome choice. And it was fucking awesome. I loved it.
Man, yeah,
that really was a Hattori Hanzo sword.
Yeah, I can't wait till for whenever we cover Volume 2, because of what I've seen so far. It's like it's pretty cool so far, and having the universe set up, or the everything set up and all these characters known and stuff. Like I don't know, they do really play well off each other. Like pretty much back to back, and but this one I feel like it's stronger. This one is just, I don't know, maybe it's because it was my first watch and I was being introduced to it completely. This is all brand new for me.
True. And I'm assuming the second one acts a little bit more on like the Ellie Driver and fucking. Oh, what was his name? Bud and Bill. Like, I think like that's what I'm expecting for the second movie, is for her to go for those last three. And I'm very excited to see it. I've watched Kill Bill Volume 1 relatively recently. It's been even longer since I watched Kill Bill Volume 2, and relatively recently, a little less than a decade ago, is not recent. So.
Did they even show Bill's face once in the first? No. Yeah, I didn't think so. Because I remember the very end, like the very, very end is like, does she still know that her child is alive?
Oh my God. And that cliffhanger, man, I was like, what a fucking way to end a movie. Cause like I looked at Emily at like, I didn't remember that, and I looked at Emily at the beginning of the movie and I was like, it's going to be one hell of a fucking twist when she finds out her daughter's alive. And, because she wakes up and she like grabs her stomach and she sobs, and I was like, fuck, that is fucking brutal. I can't imagine her pain right now. And then I was like, but hey, she was pretty deep into her pregnancy. They made a point to show us that. She lived through the gunshot, which means the baby didn't necessarily die immediately. I was like, they probably C-sectioned. You know, they probably got that baby out of her.
I did not have a thought in my mind that this baby could have been alive. Like, it was truly like just a mind fuck at the end there. I'm like, what? Like, you know, I don't know. I guess at the beginning I'm like, maybe, you know, but then throughout the whole movie, like it slipped my mind completely. I'm not thinking about that really anymore. And then Bill mentions it and I'm like, holy, I just had to start like the second movie. I'm like, what? I'm like, that's how it's going to end. You know, I can't stop here.
Dude, yeah, it was such a strong ending, and that little interaction that she has with Fatale there, where she's like, you know, I kept you alive for 2 reasons. First, for information, and you know, like she's confessing to Bill. She's like, I'm so sorry, and then the second was like, I want him to know what I know.
To know that I know that he knows, and I want him to know. Like, I love how she kept going.
I
like,
want him to know that I want him to know.
Yeah.
You know, like like that was such a badass line. You know, like just I'm coming for his ass, and he literally cannot do a thing about it. I was just like, what a fucking badass, dude. She was fucking awesome. And that scene where she's after the whole blue room silhouettes, whenever she's fighting the last guy, and he's a real young dude, and she bends him over and spanks him with his sword, with her sword, and is like, "Go home to your fucking mother." Oh my god, that was so funny. I was like, and they like, you know, they show on multiple occasions, you know, she says at the beginning she lacks compassion. Like she literally says it, you know, like, you know, she's like, I never knew you to lack rationality. She's like, yeah, I lack a lot of things, this compassion, this, but I certainly don't lack rationality. Like I'm a pretty rational person. But I think on multiple occasions she kind of exhibits a degree of compassion. I think she does.
Yeah, I mean that end fight scene, like whenever Oren was like, sorry forever discrediting you or whatever, like they almost like cry. They almost like both cry, like in that, like, you know, like she's like obviously has emotion to her, you know, like even in her training, like she was told like forget all human emotion, you know, like you can't be a factor in this, it's life or death, blah blah blah. But like not like she's doing this all off emotion, you know, like her whole family was killed. She thinks her child was killed too, you know, like and she's just revenge. That's what she's doing this for. It's off emotion, you know, in the first place.
Absolutely. And I'm real excited for the second one to see if there's any elaboration on how they got here. You know, they really drop us into the thick of it. And I'm sure there will be. I can't imagine there won't be, because you know, they're just kind of like, she's seeking revenge. We don't know why they betrayed her in the first movie. They're just kind of like, yeah, we fucked you over, man. Whew, sorry about that. And I'm real excited to see some more. But yeah, it was such a badass movie.
You will be satisfied.
I figured I would be. I figured as much.
But man, yeah, this I don't know. It'll be interesting once it's all wrapped up together. Once we have the full story, because it kind of does feel like a part one, you know, even though it's great in its own. It's kind of like The Matrix, in a way, where you're left fully satisfied with the first movie. You don't need any more past it, but it makes you want it so badly. Like you're like, I need to stay in this universe. I need to know what happens next. But the movie on its own is still amazing, and like you don't need anything more.
I was thoroughly fucking enjoying this movie. I was so in, and man, I fucking loved it. And but one of the looking through the quotes right now, and the bride, after finally getting her big toe to move, hard part's over. Now let's get these other piggies wiggling. I gotta think Tarantino is just like, yeah,
just
right in that line.
Man, like the idea of him just being behind the camera during all of that is just very weird. Like, but I mean,
damn.
he does set up some other really cool shots, you know.
Oh no, yeah.
So,
like, it's not all about the feet.
like I'm thinking that last fight scene, not outside but inside. You know, you have that dance floor that's clear, and the camera's like going up from below.
You see limbs get chopped and blood spattering on it and stuff. Like,
love the going back and forth between black and white too. Like, it's such a fun movie, and it was very aware of what it was and wasn't trying to be, you know, too serious. You know, it knew that it was very fantastical and all. But man, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it makes my top 10 necessarily. But it's close. Like, it's like, I will go back and watch this movie again.
Oh,
that's
certainly.
for sure. This will be a rewatchable movie. But yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty high on this movie right now. I'm curious to see where I sit, like a little bit removed from it once I watch it for a second time, knowing what happens and all.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah, because it is probably as good a first watch as any movie can be. You know, I mean, besides a few that are just undeniable, just like, fuck, man, that was insane. Like, I could see how someone might go, I don't know, I'm not into it. I absolutely can see that with this movie. There are other movies that we have that are 5 out of 5s in enjoyment that I don't see how one can look at it and go, I don't like it that much. You know, like Raiders, like The Godfather, like these, like, it's like, I think you had to enjoy it. I mean, like Scooby-Doo.
Obviously.
There's no doubt that you enjoyed that movie, but
yeah,
I'm pretty high on this. And I'm almost tempted to give it the 5 nod anyway. You know, I don't think there was something that really made me go, that really pulled me out of it. It really, really connects. Like, I might go a little lower than that, like a 4.9 out of 5, 4.8 out of 5.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking 4.8, 5, 4.9. I think there's, you know, maybe some, you know, at some points it was just kind of action for action's sake, you know, but they were, you know, beautifully crafted fight scenes and all. So I do appreciate that. The action was awesome to watch. It was super entertaining. But I don't really hold it to, like, you know, other 5s that we have, like The Matrix, The Truman Show, like, in how well we connected with the movie. You can't really relate to these characters as much as you can with other movies. But I mean, you know, a 4.8 or a 4.9, like, it's still.
Like, it's super enjoyable regardless of how much it does. Like, I didn't cry during Kill Bill. You know, it doesn't resonate with me on a level that moved me to tears or anything like that. But it was still damn good. Like, I think I'd be comfortable throwing it a 4.8.
Like other 4.8s, The Terminator, Aliens, 4.85 for My Neighbor Totoro, 4.9 for Goodfellas. I feel, I mean, like, these are all movies that are thoroughly enjoyable as well. I think 4.8 is
4.85 would be cool too.
I'm liking that. Splitting the difference between 4.8 and 4.9.
Absolutely. And then as a genre, you know, what are we kind of considering this? Is this just a action drama kind of?
That's what I think the crime, there's not really, I mean, you have the Yakuza and stuff like that, I guess, but I don't think that's really fair to put this as
I wouldn't put this in the Goodfellas realm for crime drama, you know.
But I mean, for action,
it's a damn good action movie, man. Like, I'd watch this. As far as, like, epic action is concerned, you know, I think like Transformers has some pretty badass action sequences that are massive and CGI and explosions and stuff like that. Like, I'd watch this type of action 10 times out of 10 before I'd watch that type of action.
I'm there.
And I think I'm pretty comfortable saying that. And that's not to say that Transformers is a fucking 5 out of 5 in its genre. I don't want to say nothing like that. But like, as far as like what we typically think of when we think action sequence, like Fast and Furious with the fucking cars flying all over the street and explosions and boom, and I take this hand-to-hand badass combat over that every time, and this is pretty hard.
Yeah,
how you feeling over there?
I feel like 4-5 is maybe around where it is, maybe, or that's kind of like the floor.
I think it's probably the floor. Like, I'd be willing to go
4-6 or 4-7-5. I think is kind of where I'm sitting. Other 4-7-5s. Well, I guess not action. It's kind of hard to compare Train Spotting and Good Will Hunting for the genre for this. But those are 4-7-5s. The Truman Show is a 4-7-5. I guess actiony. The Matrix, had some action there that we gave that a 5.
You have Jurassic Park a 4.75, so I think I'd go a little lower than that. So 4.7 is probably fair.
Yeah. All right, I like that. Now I think, I don't know. I'm curious on where it does stand as a film because it is very different from anything else. It's odd. It's like very its own style. And I mean, I think it's belonging.
It's belonging in that
somewhere up here.
4.85 to 4.9 range.
Yeah.
I think I do put it on that 4.85 level. I don't know that I quite elevate it to 4.9 amongst those Shawshank and Raiders and The Shining and Jaws and Godfather. I don't know that Kill Bill is up there with that tier. But Kill Bill's definitely on that tier with Jurassic Park and The Matrix and Gladiator and Goodfellas and Train Spotting. Like, that makes sense to me. It makes a lot more sense to me. And
when we're thinking about everything that, this film rating does encompass, like, I think the camera work was stellar. Like that was definitely a strength of the movie. The writing was super cool. The soundtrack was awesome.
The soundtrack was badass. The acting was fucking cool. Like, I wouldn't say it was fantastic, but it was like it seemed purposeful. Like, it was like there was a direction with it. Like, it wasn't like, man, this person's really fumbling the bag here. It was like the way they all acted fit the same mold, and it was incredibly purposeful. So like, I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was really fucking good. I would say it's probably one of the most distinctive and original movies on this list. I don't think that we've seen anything quite like it.
That averages it out to a 4.80, which ties it with The Shining, which is interesting to hear those movies, just together.
Yeah, The Shining and Kill Bill.
But where do we want to place it amongst these 4.85s? I feel like it's below The Matrix and Jurassic Park.
I think so, money, for sure.
I think is it above Gladiator? And
when I think about the reasons I think this movie is good as compared to a few of the others, like, I don't know, it might not be above the Gladiator. It might not. Like, I put this more in the Goodfellas and Train Spotting vein. Because those are movies where, no, I'm not really falling in love with any of the characters. I'm not. There's an emotional resonance, but it's not incredibly deep. It's just I'm admiring this for the filmmaking's sake. And that's kind of how I feel about Goodfellas and Train Spotting. And then I feel like Gladiator takes it to another level where, like, the filmmaking was fantastic, writing was awesome, and I cared about the characters a lot. And I care about the bride. I want her to make it out. But, there's a moment where I think she's done for in this movie. I know she's not. I know there's a Kill Bill too, but I'm not torn up about that, So I think it belongs potentially below Gladiator and above Goodfellas and Train Spotting, but maybe below Goodfellas, above Train Spotting. I feel like that feels more right. I think I'd go with that. Kill Bill Volume 1, and goes right there between Goodfellas and Train Spotting. It feels good to me.
There we go. I mean, this, our top 10 grows even more with all these ties here, which is awesome. Let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 25 movies in our top 10 now, which is just beautiful as a film. And yeah, that's pretty awesome that it slots in at 12. So I guess that as a film, I was saying I don't think it makes my top 10 list, but it's close there, and that reflects
That makes sense to me. That makes sense to me.
And then on the average scale, it slots in at 19 or 18, which feels about right. Yeah, I think we got it pretty on the nose here with the rating. I think I'm pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah, it was a really good one. It's not knocking us on our ass like a few movies have, but it was a super enjoyable experience and such a fun movie to watch. And with that, I can't wait for next week's 2004 Kill Bill Volume 2. Very, very excited about that. And man, it's turning out to be a good month. And will Kill Bill Volume 2 finish off the month for us?
Let's see. It will. Yes, it will finish off August.
August will be topped off by Kill Bill Volume 2, and a damn good month it looks like it's going to shake out to be with Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, Scooby-Doo, and Training Day. None of them will touch 2002, but hey, you can't expect that of flicks anymore. It's just not reasonable. But yeah, very excited. We're almost to that halfway point.
Mm-hmm.
Next week marks that halfway point of the 2000s. After that, we'll be on the latter half of the 2000s, and I'm very, very excited. With that, I was Colton Robertson, joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. If you would, head to patreon.com/CoraBloom and fund the revolution, and make sure you can support the pod. It costs money, and I don't make any off the podcast, so it's nice to have a little bit of a built-in cushion there with Patreon. That's real nice. And if you would, head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast, and remember, peace, love, and bloom. And that woman deserves her revenge. And we deserve to die.